Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review. This review is for Baddies USA Chapter 2, Episode 9. So let's just get right into it because a lot went down in this episode. So this episode picks up with the fight between Pressure and Tavi. Tavi is fighting Pressure because she wanted an apology from Pressure for her talking about her son, but Pressure said that she's not apologizing for something that she didn't do. So they start fighting with each other, and honestly, Tavi did win the fight because Pressure was too busy worried about trying to snatch off Tavi's wig instead of swinging. But honestly, I don't know what to believe because sometimes people say that a person talked about their child when really they talked about them as a parent, which I think shouldn't be done either. But I don't know if Pressure really talked about Tavi's son or not. I haven't seen any proof at all. Then E.T. decides to be messy and set up a meeting with Bahati and Neek. They're sitting down having drinks with each other, and she completely blindsides them by telling them that Hurricane M and TT are going to be coming too, and we know that this is a setup for them to fight because we know the four of them have been beefing. And as soon as TT and Hurricane M showed up, TT immediately started coming at Bahati, calling her drunkie, because we know that Bahati has been getting belligerently drunk the last few episodes, and so the two of them start going back and forth with each other, and Neek and Hurricane M are trying to get it straight on why the two of them started fighting in the first place. Neek said that the reason why she swung on Hurricane M is because Hurricane M had Bahati's wig, and she was trying to take the wig from Hurricane M, what any friend would do, and then when Hurricane M was not trying to let go of the wig, that's when she swung on her and the two of them started fighting. But TT was ready to fight. She was tired of talking, so she took a drink and she flings it directly at Bahati, and the two of them start fighting with each other, and then Neek and Hurricane M start fighting at the same time. Now, I'll definitely say I had to slow this down a little bit because they were fighting at the same time. I feel like TT won against Bahati, and I definitely feel like Neek won against Hurricane M. I don't know if it's because the, security was holding Hurricane M a little bit too much, and that's why she couldn't swing, but I definitely will give the win to Neek. This was complete chaos though, and E.T. trying to pretend like she was trying to get these girls together to have a civil conversation while she's sitting back smiling while they're fighting is crazy. But Hurricane M and Neek do end up having a fair fight. They square up with each other, and this time I feel like they were both getting in there. I would say it was a tie because to me, when I slowed it down, they were both hitting each other. I don't think one got the better of the other. But Hurricane M did have a nosebleed after this fight, so I guess you can say Neek won because a lot of people based the winner on who got the most damage done to them, and Hurricane M was the only one that was bleeding, but from what I saw, I thought it was a tie. Now, Tommy and Summer end up meeting up with Amber, and she tells them why she's beefing with Mariah Lynn. She felt some type of way about Mariah Lynn sneaking her in last week's episode because she really didn't think there was a problem between the two of them, and then she pulls out a receipt from 4 years ago of Mariah Lynn in her DMs trying to be cool with her, and I really didn't know what this was proving because this was 4 years ago, and this is before Amber snuck her friend Tesehki. So that's the reason why Mariah Lynn snuck her in last week's episode, is because she's friends with Tesehki, and obviously she's not going to be cool with anybody who fights Tesehki, not necessarily. So I just felt like this receipt that she pulled out from 4 years ago really didn't make any sense. Now, Amber does end up telling Summer and Tommy that she's definitely going to fight Tesehki again. I don't think that's going to work out for her. She already got stitches in her face from one hit from Tesehki, so I don't understand why she would want that again. Now, here's where things get a little bit weird and confusing for me because Biggie and Mariah Lynn show up to the arcade together before Tesehki and her friends get there, and Biggie just seemed like she wanted to go in there and have a good time before Tesehki and her friends showed up, but Mariah Lynn was trying to address whatever issue she had with Biggie, and Biggie wasn't really trying to hear it. She was trying to focus on playing the game, and that was getting Mariah Lynn irritated. But what made me feel some type of way about Mariah in this situation is not that she wanted to address an issue that she had with Biggie, because I feel like if there's an issue between you and your friend, you should be able to come to them about the issue you have. My issue was Mariah Lynn performing when Tesehki and her friends got there, because she was not acting this upset with Biggie until Tesehki and her friends walked in. That's when she started saying that Biggie was irritating her and that Biggie doesn't listen, and it's like, why do you have to tell Tesehki and her friends this though? So instead of playing games, they end up all going outside where Mariah Lynn ordered salads for all of them, and this is where I was looking at Biggie some type of way because she was pissed off at the fact that Mariah Lynn ordered salads, and she felt like Mariah Lynn was trying to come at her by doing that. But Mariah said that her and Biggie had a conversation where Biggie said that she was trying to lose some weight, so she ordered all of them salads. So I just didn't understand why Biggie was so upset about that. I mean, what's wrong with a salad? But what I didn't like was that while they were sitting down trying to eat, Mariah was basically trying to blame her being attacked by Ciroc the past couple of episodes on Biggie, because Biggie is the one who got into it with Ciroc in the first place, and that's the reason why everybody else was beefing with her. But they did that on their own. Biggie never ended up asking them to fight her battle with Ciroc for her. They did it on their own. So I just don't understand why she's trying to blame Biggie for why Ciroc keeps trying to fight her, because Biggie has nothing to do with the fact that Mariah has been talking shit about Ciroc on social media, and that's the reason why Ciroc is still trying to fight her. I feel like the stuff with Biggie is in the past. I don't feel like any beef that they have with Ciroc now has anything to do with Biggie anymore. But I'm sorry, Tesehki's friend that got beat up by Treve in last week's episode was doing too much for me in this episode. She was questioning Biggie, trying to say that Biggie has been talking to Ciroc in her DMs and that she's been hanging out with Ciroc. And she even goes as far as to try to say that Biggie set up that whole situation to be attacked by Ciroc on purpose. And I thought that was crazy, because why the hell would she set up herself getting attacked? Tommy knows that she's the one who got Ciroc to attack Biggie, because her and Biggie were beefing last season, and Ciroc admitted that Tommy got her to fight Biggie and that she knew it was wrong and she did it anyway. I feel like the reason why they're trying to make it seem like Biggie is all of a sudden cool with Ciroc is because Ciroc did apologize to Biggie in last week's episode, but Biggie accepted the apology but said that she didn't want to be cool with Ciroc and she wanted to keep her distance from her. So who went back and told Tesehki's friends that Biggie has been cool with Ciroc? There's one thing, though, that Tesehki's friend did say that I do agree with, and that's that Biggie has tried to use Tesehki as her bodyguard, and we know that she has done that before. I think at one of the reunions, I don't know which one it was, but she was trying to tell Tesehki to hit somebody for her, and then we know that when she got into it with Lex in Korea, she was on the phone saying that she was going to tell Tesehki and that Tesehki was not going to let her be touched. So she does kind of use Tesehki as a bodyguard, or she did at one point, but I don't feel like she does that anymore because we already know that Tesehki's not going to fight for her. The truth is, a lot of these girls want to stay cool with Tesehki because they don't want to be on her bad side. That's not just about Biggie, that's about a lot of the girls that are cool with Tesehki right now. But all of a sudden, while Tesehki's friend and Biggie are having this back and forth, Tesehki's friend hops up out of her seat and she starts attacking Biggie. She starts fighting her, and Tesehki jumps up and she's trying to break it up and she's telling them to stop. And so for that reason, I really don't feel like Tesehki knew that her friend was going to hit Biggie. She said in her confessional that they were all friends, they all hung out outside of the show, and that Biggie and her friends have got into arguments before, so she wasn't expecting things to turn physical. And I mean, I believe her. I don't think that she knew that her friend was going to hit Biggie. I just don't think that she thought that that was going to happen, because Biggie did start saying that she felt like she was being set up by Tesehki, and I don't think that Tesehki set her up. I don't feel like Tesehki has to do that. If she has a problem with Biggie, she can just say it to her, and obviously we know that Tesehki's not scary, so I just feel like there's no reason for her to set up Biggie. So I believe her. I don't think that she knew that her friend was going to put her hands on Biggie, but I think that her friend was in the wrong, because why are you hitting her over something you're assuming? You don't even know if this girl has really been talking to Ciroc. I mean, I could see if they were all sitting down having this conversation and Ciroc was there to say whether or not her and Biggie have been talking, then I can understand her being upset, but not upset enough to hit Biggie, because that's not her place to do that. But like, Ciroc hasn't even confirmed that the two of them have been talking or hanging out with each other, so why did you hit her? I don't know. I think because of her friend getting beat up in last week's episode by Treve, I think she wanted to redeem herself by attacking Biggie, but the fans really didn't like that, because even though we can call out Biggie and when she's wrong, in this situation, I don't feel like she was in the wrong. So Dolly, Tinka, and Lex are all together having some drinks, and Tinka tells them that Fauna, K, Rican, Cold Killer, and Ivory are going to be showing up, and you can tell that Lex was feeling some type of way, or there was something that she wanted to get off her chest by the way that she reacted to finding out that they were coming. But as they're walking in, Tinka ends up making a comment about getting her body done, and she was joking around, but it was aimed at Cold Killer, because we know Cold Killer got her body done, and something happened with that whole situation, and that's why, you know, she made that comment. But Cold Killer was not feeling that, so she immediately starts going back and forth with Tinka, and I was annoyed at this argument going on for as long as it did, because we know that Cold Killer cannot fight because she got her face fractured by Tinka, so what's the point of you going back and forth with each other, screaming at each other, pushing tables if you know you can't fight? But when the argument between Tinka and Cold Killer is finally over, Lex ends up asking both Dolly and Ivory if their beef is over, since the two of them already fought it out, and they both agreed that they got out what they needed to and that there's no beef beef between the two of them. And honestly, I'm glad about that. I don't want to see them beef anymore. I actually want to see them be cool with each other. Obviously, we know they're not going to be friends, but seeing them get along, I feel like that would be more entertaining for me than to see them fight again. But Dolly ends up asking Lex how she feels about Fauna, and she basically says that she does not like Fauna because Fauna used Mace when they got into that fight. And she said that when she was asking Fauna if she used Mace, she kept denying it, but then it came out on social media that she did. And, K. Rican admitted to bringing the Mace for them and that they all sprayed their hands with it before fighting the big three. And so basically Fauna had no choice but to admit to the fact that she used it. And Fauna was trying to make it seem like Lex wasn't mad about the Mace. She was mad because she lost the fight and that she ended up having a popped blood vessel in her eye. But I feel like Fauna does not get it. The point is you wouldn't have been able to win against Lex or even hit her as many times as you were able to if you did not have Mace on your hands. And that's the truth, because why haven't we been able to see Fauna beat Lex again? We have not seen that. So I just feel like it was because of the Mace that she was able to do it. Now, did she win that fight? Yes, she did. But I feel like Lex is mad because it wasn't a fair fight. But let's reverse it. If it was the big three that would have sprayed Mace on their hands to fight Fauna, Cold Killer, and K. Rican, everybody would have had an issue with that. Everybody would have been talking about it. Everybody would have been dragging them. But because it was Fauna, Cold Killer, and K. Rican that had Mace on their hands to fight the big three, everybody made it seem like it wasn't a big deal. So basically, Fauna ends up admitting to using Mace in this conversation. So Lex hops up like a bat out of hell and she just runs over to Fauna before Fauna could even get up, and she just starts whooping her on that couch. I mean, she was beating her ass on that couch. And Fauna does get up and she tries to run at Lex, and Lex just pops her twice in the face. I'm like, damn, she just gave her 2 face shots. And then the two of them do end up fighting head up, and I will give it to Fauna. She was in there swinging, and I think she did catch Lex a couple of times, but the hits that Lex caught on Fauna were all face shots, and that's how she won, in my opinion. I do feel like when they did go head up with each other, Fauna was swinging, she was getting in there, but Lex still ultimately won to me. Now, to be honest with you, I did see Dolly kind of trip Fauna in this episode when she was fighting Lex, and that's why she ended up falling. I think she would have fell anyway, though, because she was already losing her balance. But the people who are mad about her doing that, to me, are being hypocrites, because those are the same people that laughed and cheered when Ivory tripped Summer during that reunion when she was in the middle of a fight. So if you're gonna laugh at it when Ivory does it, then you should feel the same way when Dolly does it. Dolly did the same thing a lot of people would have done for their friends or their sisters. She tripped her. I'm not saying she was right. I don't agree with it, but at the end of the day, I'm not mad at it either. Now, right after Lex finishes whooping Fauna real quick, her and Dolly end up showing up to a house to meet with Tommy and Summer to have a conversation. And honestly, I didn't really know what the conversation was going to be about because I don't really feel like there's anything to talk about. But Summer and Dolly start going back and forth with each other because Summer wants to know what Dolly's issue with her is. It seems like the issue is really with Dolly and Summer. It doesn't really seem like Summer has that much of a problem with Lex, and Lex already said that she wasn't going to fight Summer again. So I just felt like this conversation was pointless. But Dolly does end up answering Summer. She says that the reason why she has an issue with Summer is because she goes overboard with the way that she runs her mouth, how she talks shit every time she sees her, and how she talks about her on social media, but then when she sees her in person, she tries to act like there's no issue. My thing is this: Summer tried to say that Dolly didn't have a problem with her having a big mouth when they were friends with each other, but I mean, that's to be expected. You don't expect your friend to treat you the way that she treats other people. You just don't really expect that. Should you expect that? And should you keep your head on a swivel when it comes to people like that? Yes, and that's where Dolly and Lex went wrong. Where they went wrong was they thought Summer's behavior was okay as long as she wasn't doing it to them. But then she ended up doing it to them. So now they see why other people had an issue with her. But I'll say this: I'm not going to fault them for thinking that she wouldn't do them the way that she did other people, because they were friends. They thought that they had a genuine friendship with Summer, so they never thought that she would do that to them. But Lex starts pressing Tommy, and the two of them are basically trolling each other. Tommy is drunk, I think. I don't know, but it seemed like she was, the way that she was talking. And Lex was basically saying that Tommy brought outsiders, and that's her issue that she has with Tommy. And then I also feel like the issue is still that Tommy threw glass in her face, so I don't think the beef between the two of them is going to be over anytime soon. I do think that it's funny, though, that Tommy brought up that Colgate commercial that Lex did. A lot of people joke about that. I'm not going to lie, it definitely was cringy, but at the same time, she's probably trying to manifest something for herself, so I'm not mad at it. But Tommy and Lex are going back and forth with each other, and Lex kind of pretends to run up on Tommy, and Tommy does flinch back, so Lex gets amusement out of that. And then she does start walking up on Tommy. Tommy's backing up from her, and Tommy and Summer end up leaving. I do feel like this little back and forth was a little bit entertaining because Tommy's entertaining and Lex is entertaining when she's in that mode. But I'm not gonna lie, it was almost pointless because nothing ended up happening and Tommy and Summer ended up leaving. Before Tommy left though, she did say that if they allowed Lex to touch her, she was gonna tear everything up like she usually does every season when she gets pissed off. She's pushing cameras out of her face, she's pulling cameras and lights down. That girl be messing up the whole set anytime she gets touched. But those are my thoughts on this week's episode of Baddies USA. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.